This is where the fun begins.
Prepare yourself for Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. The evil Empire has struck back with a vengeance, and a new villain, the crime lord Shizor, schemes to replace Darth Vader as the Emperor's second-in-command. With Han Solo held frozen in carbonite by bounty hunter Boba Fett, it's the rebellion's darkest hour. Now, join Jedi warrior Luke Skywalker, hard-charging Chewbacca, and go undercover with heroic pilot Dash Rendar and his booming Outrider. But can Han Solo be freed and Shizor be stopped? Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. Look for the authentic figures and vehicles from Kenner.
Hello, hello, and welcome. I thought I'd decide to do a spontaneous live stream, making it a Cringe Factor, which is like a portion of my show from Coffee Chat, but I was inspired by an article here. So I know people might be dropping on here pretty soon. Like I said, it's spontaneous here. So if you're coming in to watch, drop a hello. And I am so happy to see you guys here. It is a good Monday morning. Alex, huh? What the fuck? Who said Disney garbage better than prequels? Yeah, I know. So this is going to be, I figured because I compare and contrast and like to debunk shit, that even though this company probably doesn't deserve, and I don't even have my camera on, sorry about that, that this company doesn't deserve the views and the reading. It is articles like this and companies like this that still put a bad name when it comes to George's Star Wars, particularly the prequels. I have seen attacks against the OT as well, and so I thought I'd share this. So going on a Cringe Factor, and the Sentinel, thank you so much. I follow him on IG, and I seen his story. I believe it's the story I seen on here. And I was like, what the hell? Yeah, so again, you do have credit. So you saw that. Yes. So we're going to go through this and break this down, debunk bullshit that they're saying. Now, mind you, there are some things that I will give them credit for, like some of the visuals. Yes. Like even George said, just because the visual is good, basically doesn't mean the story is, and I'm paraphrasing him. And so this was recently written. So I was looking at this too. And I was like, well, maybe this is a past article, because there was a time frame that all of this stuff was spearheading to push out the prequels to make them look better, to go against hardcore or original Star Wars fans that's been with the franchise for a hell of a long time, and they were pushing this narrative. But no, this is in August 6th. I'll go ahead and share right now, since you guys want to know what I'm talking about. So here you go. So basically, this was published August 16th, or 6th, sorry, not 16th, because it's not even past my birthday. My birthday's August 12th. Yeah, so this was published on the 6th, and 10 reasons Star Wars sequels are still superior to the prequels. Still, they never have been. But let's go ahead and see who's popping on right now and what you guys have to say. And then we have Batsy joining us. Hello, Batsy. How are you doing? And then we have Robotic Pope. Hello, how are you doing? And Chief Eddie, how you doing? What's up? And then hi everyone, good vibes from Holiday Special. Boba Fett, hey, what's up? And then Orange Hat Review, one of my channel members. Thank you for your continued support, as well as everybody here who are subscribers as well. You guys are all amazing. Let's see here. And I know what culture has been the mostly lefty, clickbaity garbage website for the last decade. Yeah, I know. And like I said, they don't deserve this, but because people go and read this, they share this as fact. So I would like to go through this with you guys here and debunk some of the stuff here, because of the fact that this is used as, I guess you could say, so quote unquote evidence. And mind you, I went through the article already. This person does not have. This Robin Baxter does not have what they think is evidence. Okay, let's see who else is here. OG, is your avatar Merrick? Yes, and it has my face. So it's her, and I refaced my face on her, and you can't really tell the difference. It's amazing. It's amazing. And that I could even probably cosplay as her with no problem, but that's for another topic. And then visual means nothing with no story. Correct. That's exactly what it means. And so George did kind of backhanded the sequel trilogy. Basically, was it The Last Jedi that he said that about? So he basically backhanded them with that. Warren Chat says, anyone who thinks superior storytelling in the sequels have no education or study in what writing or storytelling. They're basically, this is their opinion, and they don't have good evidence to back their opinion up, to make it factual, I guess you could say, or make a point. And so that's where they fail at this, right? That's where they fail. And so we'll go through that. Let's see here. Hello, OG. Was George involved in the EU video games? Yes, he was. So he was involved with Force Unleashed. And then he also basically, I don't know how much he was involved with, Shadows, but he was involved with the program, the multimedia, because that's the very first multimedia project that was ever created under there. And he absolutely loved the story. Let's see here. Anyone else got phone sound? What are you talking about, phone sound? I don't know. What culture loves to create clickbait articles? Yes, and we already stated that. But people do use it as evidence to back their claims that the sequel is far better than anything that was done before. So this is why we're here. So we're going to get into the article here. I know people are popping on. I got phone sound, although it sounds kind of off. I don't know what you mean by phone sound. I am wearing my pods in my ears here and using it as speaker. Yeah, so right now my location, I changed my location in my studio. I think I'm going to change it one more time and move my computer and stuff on the opposite end of my studio so that I'm away from the door, so I don't have to have them on and such. But I do need to get a door to my studio because right now it is just curtains and a Pendleton blanket because I'm just going to, kind of hook it up native style, But anyways, opinions suggest higher brain function. I doubt they have any. We got the insult coming in from Orange Hat Review. Yeah, it's okay. I wonder if it was just me at all. I don't know. But I do have a fan going on behind me because my studio doesn't have AC. So I have a fan. So if you hear a clicking and stuff a little bit, because the fan, once it hits a certain point, it clicks and then returns for whatever reason. It's old. Yeah, so if you're hearing that, that's probably what it is, and I apologize for that. I just don't want to, it sounds kind of muffled. Oh my goodness. I hope like I'm underwater or something. Let me up the volume here. Because when I tested it, it was okay, but you never know. I'll go ahead and turn it up. Volume. So hopefully that's okay. It was kind of down. It was at medium, so hopefully it is okay. What about Couture? I haven't really got into much research behind that one. So, and now my internet connection is up saying that I have lousy connection or something's going on. Don't you just love StreamYards and internet connections and all that bullshit? It sounds like you're on the phone. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, underwater. Fun times. Let me see. I do have my other mic here. Before I move on, I do have my other mic here. Let me go ahead and switch mics real quick. That might help. Pretty soon I'll have a better setup. So just give me a second, then we'll pull up the article here, Mike. Let's go ahead and...
Right. So Samsung. Okay, so let's see if that works. Testing. All right. Has to be said with malice to be an insult, laugh a lot. That was said with no malice. Please, plead the fifth. It's okay. No one's accusing you. Perfection. All right. So sounds much better. All right. So anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at this article and go through this. All right. Okay, so basically this is what they're saying here. And of course you have check mark on Rey and X out Anakin. Basically kind of similar to what they did Luke Skywalker at Lucasfilm headquarters, which was, you know, a blasphemy, I would say. Star Wars sequel trilogy, despite a broadly acclaimed start with The Force Awakens, and even though it actually did plenty of things really well, you know, it was a rehash of A New Hope. So give credit where credit is due, has now become the most divisive film trilogy since. Really? I wonder what happened, and I wonder what came about with that. Well, since the Star Wars prequel trilogy, the prequel trilogy wasn't necessarily divisive. The media made it divisive. The people who follow, like sheeple, follow along with that narrative. But basically, the prequel had a pretty solid story. It was continuation of what George did with the original trilogy. Even if you go back and listen to his interviews, he does, you know, say that when he made the outline and he planned the story, that it was going to be first a 2-part or 2 trilogies or 3 trilogies. He wasn't sure how many it was going to take to tell the story. And then realized that after the prequel was done, that it only took 2 trilogies to tell the story. Still, the latter trilogy has had something of critical resurgence in the last few years, and some fans are now arguing those movies are superior to the sequel. No, it always has been superior, and ever since The Force Awakens come out, they have been saying that, but they have been saying too, praising the prequels even before then. And then so they're being sarcastic here. So you know exactly where this person is in line with the prequels. You already know by what is said right here. Okay, let's see here. So, what? Sorry, is that some sort of joke? No, you are the joke. What's your name again? Robin, you are the joke. Okay, so let's go on. Let it immediately be said, the Star Wars prequels are absolutely solid movies, and one feels reluctant to dunk on them, given the excessive abuse they've received over the years. So they're solid, and people are reluctant to dunk on them. Okay. All right. They've got an amazing world building, of course, because it was all one continuous story that George had planned out from the start. Cracking action, razor-sharp technical values, and a thought-provoking, twist-filled story. But as overall film, they are deeply flawed, and often atrocious dialogue and numbling awful action. Our acting keep oh my God. Okay, so atrocious dialogue and numbingly awful acting keep any of them from ascending beyond the 3-star level. Okay, so what do you guys think about that so far? As such, to argue that such hit or miss movies are superior to Disney, considerably better executed and trilogy is beyond laughable. So right here, learning how to write precise and concise stuff. I would be really reconstructing that sentence there too, as well as others. But here is why they think this. And let's see what you have to say here, Norma. They're going to see the acting as bad, but George Lucas said the acting is very 1930s. That's why it's growing for people. And the fact is that Anakin or Hayden did exactly what he was supposed to do with Anakin's mood and stuff like that. And hello, Miss Martin Muses, how are you doing? And okay, let's see here. So number 10, the prequels wasted so much potential. All right, so let's see what they have to say here, or she has to say. I'm assuming it's a she. And you know, in today's climate, you know, people get so pissed when you assume their gender, but you know, I don't give a shit. All right, so let's go on. Well, on paper, the Star Wars prequel trilogy is a rich Shakespearean tragedy that could easily have been as good as the original trilogy. If you read trilogy's stories out of context, if you read trilogy story out of context, characters chances are you'd be very impressed indeed, since these movies do actually have a fascinating narrative filled with smart world building, shocking plot twists, but sadly the trilogy failed to realize this. stratospheric potential and shot itself in the foot. So basically it shot its own self in the foot. Like the trilogy just didn't realize it after George made it, and it like shot itself in the foot. Okay. Anyway, so that right there, make it sound like the trilogy itself and not the creator. Anyways, all the way through the trilogy, the atrocious dialogue, countless plot holes. Okay, there are no plot holes. Where are the friggin' plot holes in this? Now, some dialogue, it's not atrocious. Some is like, bland or kind of a little cringeworthy, and it could be written better, but it got the point across. Being hyperbolic here, sweetheart. And numbly awful acting. Acting mean that the boundless potential of the narrative only sometimes comes through. So because the atrocious dialogue, countless plot holes, and numbly awful acting means that the narrative only sometimes comes through. So what do you think about those points that she is making? Because all of that, did you not understand the prequel trilogy because of all of that she stated? The atrocious dialogue, the countless plot holes, and the numbly and awful acting. Did you get the narrative? Because, potentially, or obviously she says that because of all of that, the narrative wasn't coming through. Did you guys understand the prequels? Oh my God, this is crazy. All right, I'm going to scroll down on there. But basically, Alex says, sounds like the Garbage Vice show who wants to turn George into a loser who successfully be successful because of circumstances. Yeah, and so you guys, if you haven't had a chance to watch the spacing, we did do parts 1 and 2 of the New Hope of Icons Unbound, and that's the New Hope one. And then we did The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi is out. And Tim did do a short about basically they gave Marsha credit for basically running, and I'm just paraphrasing, Lucasfilm, beginning and running Lucasfilm. So there you go. All right. So let's go ahead and scroll down because I hate these ones where you have to click next instead of just having one straight article. So that's a lot. Okay, let's get you out of the way. Okay, so number 9, acting sequences are far more suspenseful. So basically, Robin is saying the action, or not the acting, the action sequences. I need my friggin' glasses on. The action sequences are far more suspenseful in the sequel trilogy. To give credit where credit's due, in terms of action, the trilogies are largely neck to neck, and in some ways, the prequel did actions better than the sequels. Yeah. Well, I think overall, they're not neck to neck. Overall, all the action scenes are amazing in the prequel trilogy, but we'll continue to read here. The action in the prequels is better, bolder, unfolds in better locations, and the trilogy also has superior lightsaber duels. No shit. Basically, the prequel trilogy, like their lightsaber, we could see the Jedi and the Prime using the Force, well trained in many formats of saber dueling forms and stuff. Far superior, but there is, and then also we have to thank Nick for that. We have to thank Nick for that. They did not have anybody, no professionals from my scene or whoever they brought in, failed at any type of duels or fight scenes that had happened or occurred within the sequel trilogy, but our Disney trilogy. But there is one crucial thing that the spectacle in the prequels often lack: tension. Did you hear that? Tension. There was a lot of tension in that. Yes, the prequels action scenes are a hell of a lot of fun, but they fail to match the white-knuckling tension throughout the original trilogy. The original trilogy did have some great, so they're comparing it against the original trilogy. However, I do like my favorite fighting or duel scene is in Return of the Jedi, right? I love that one. My second is from Revenge of the Sith. And guess what? To me, they're neck to neck. almost neck to neck. I just think that what leads up to Anakin saving Luke, and how, or not Anakin, yeah, Anakin, and how Vader slash Anakin uses Luke's emotion on protecting his sister to try to turn him. Yeah, that was amazing. But then you have basically brothers fighting each other, friends fighting each other, master and once apprentice fighting each other as the apprentice went dark. And that has a lot of weight in it too. However, when you look at the sequel or the Disney trilogy, there is no suspense whatsoever. She beats him right away most of the time. There is no white knuckling suspense, sit on the edge of your seat, because she beats him all the time and she has no training. And then the choreography to those fights suck. The choreography for both George's trilogies were done professionally and had a lot of thought process to it with emotions, and even the music set up. I'm sorry, but I think the Disney trilogy, John Williams, I think that's his least best that he's done. I think his best, it varies between prequel trilogy and OT, depending on the scene. In contrast, the sequel's actions really pulls you right in. No, they don't, because you get pulled out because she's winning again. There is no reason for her. There's no tension because you know she's going to win. There's no tension because there's no buildup to that. There's no buildup in there. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Number 8, Rey is far better lead than Anakin Skywalker. Okay, so here we go with that. Far better lead than Anakin Skywalker. And I'm going to see what you guys have to say here. I hate when this jumps and I'm trying to click on something. It's like getting away from me. All right, the prequels only had a total of 7 people that survived with plot armor. Only 7. Anyone with skin color or alternative sexuality and plot armor in the sequel. Yeah, well, yeah. They had people who specialize in knife and hand combat, direct sword fighting for the sequels. Oh, what they did? It did not show. Nick and the PT and the OT had way better choreography and specializing in duel scenes and sparring and stuff like that. So these people failed. It probably seems like it, but I'm not responsible for this article. No, you're not. It's the Sentinel. The trilogy is full of monks and politicians. That's why the acting is the way is by design. There's those moments because you have the political intrigue. We get to learn more about the Jedi and their ways and stuff like that. Let's see here. But by the time you're supposed to get to the sequel trilogy or the Disney trilogy, it's supposed to be something brand new, and the Jedi is supposed to be recreated by Luke. But that's Disney, right? They decided to throw out all that world building and start with their own stuff, and that's why we're talking here. Let's see. He had to recycle pieces from the prequels and OT just to give the Rise of Skywalker any sort of nostalgia. Yeah, I know. I feel you on that. I feel you. Let's see here. And thank you so much, darling. And let's see here, malarkey bullshit. Yeah. And let's see here. If you go by Disney canon and how the PT has been messed with, the ST actually is less retarded than Disney canon. In Disney canon, yeah. Let's see here. Hey, how you doing, Zagharat? Let's see here. All right, you guys are just hopping here. Okay, so let's see what they have to say with this. This one could be contentious, but as a character, Rey is better than she's often given credit for. She has no friggin' emotions in this. It's like she only has one expression, And with all of the feelings that she shows in this Disney trilogy, she should have turned dark, because we've seen how Luke went really dark after Vader threatened Leia in Return of the Jedi. She should have been dark already. In terms of the overall trilogy, her arc did in terms of the overall trilogy, her arc did do a bit of flip-flop in Rise of Skywalker, but in each of the 3 films, she was an engaging, active protagonist, and most of the emotional beats and resolutions regarding her character worked really well. That goes back to what I just said, because it didn't go off very well. And I've heard myself, well, I didn't hear myself, I know what I said, but people discussing how Daisy could have done emotions a lot better in there. She was very bland with her emotions. In particular, her transformation from friendless scavenger to hero in Force Awakens was really well done. Even if she did learn a Force a bit too quickly, she didn't learn the Force at all. It was just given upon her. Another crucial thing is that Rey is, for the most part, very likable, and Daisy Ridley's performance was largely strong too. She was okay. I wasn't impressed. Like some of the stuff that she was eluding on screen didn't go through as clear as many wished it would. So there you go. But then on the other hand, you've got Anakin Skywalker, a trilogy lead goes. He's a bit a train wreck. Okay. Where Rey is sympathetic and kind-hearted, Anakin is whiny, obnoxious brat who never stops complaining on whatever issues Rey's story and whatever issues Rey's story might have had. That's still nothing compared to those with Anakin's. The reason why he had to be whiny, obnoxious, what have you, is because he is being seduced by Palpatine. He's supposed to be questioning. He's supposed to be like, why isn't the council trusting me? Because Palpatine is planting those thoughts and fears and betrayal of, in Anakin's head, from, the greater galaxy, the Jedi Order, what have you. So I clearly don't think that this person understands the intention of why he had to act that way. He's not supposed to go in there like, oh yeah, I'm cool. They don't care, the council's not betraying me. They don't trust me, but oh well. Let's go fight. Let's go protect the galaxy. Let's go do this. So I mean, seriously, she did not understand exactly what Anakin's arc was, obviously, for having to say that. And then she goes on to say his romance was Padme. You meant with, not was. His romance with Padme is one of the worst screen romances of the last 20 years, and his fall to the dark side in Revenge of the Sith didn't really quite make sense due to how rushed it was. What? And Soul Assassin, yes, Anakin was prideful, arrogant, all of that. It was not rushed. His fall wasn't rushed. We understood from the beginning. We understood from the Phantom Menace especially when Palpatine's like, I'll be watching your career. Oh my God. It made perfectly sense. If you sat and watched the trilogy and how Palpatine talked to Anakin, feeding his pride, Anakin being conflicted because he thinks the council doesn't believe in his abilities, and his pride wants him to be a master because he's the chosen one. That's what Palpatine fed to him. Now the romance, yeah, it was a bit cringy, but you know why? Because Anakin, they didn't teach courtship in the Order. He didn't know how to act around his feelings and towards Padme. He didn't know how to be smooth. That's why it was cringy. Yeah, I get, like I said, some of the lines could have been adulted a little bit better. However, Anakin's supposed to be naive when it comes to courtship, to pursuing, to responding to his feelings towards Padme, basically. It's not supposed to be a classic romance. We've seen that in the OT. Again, so with this being said, I'm not going to read the rest of this. No, she's not way better than Anakin. Like I said before, her emotions of her character didn't quite match the intentions with the lore of the Force, with her emotions and her fear and how she has rage and how she responds. She should have been going to the dark side a long time ago. So it doesn't necessarily fit with the arc there. Okay, let's go on. Number 7, J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson are far better directors than George Lucas. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Do I need to really debunk this? Really? When Kennedy, JJ, and even Ryan stated they didn't have a plan when creating this trilogy. And then when it's obviously that they decided, obvious, when they decided to take George's lore in a completely different direction, that doesn't mean that they are far better than George, the actual creator of Star Wars. All right, so let's go. In this particular area, the Disney Apps trilogy absolutely annihilated the prequels. Brilliant. Yes, brilliant. And okay, let's go back to directors. Well, let's just go out in the overall production of a film and what George accomplished in the history of filming. These two guys right here would not be able to do the crap with the beautiful scenes and stuff they did without this guy doing groundbreaking discoveries and stuff in film. Now, on the director part, George was micromanager. Yes, he kind of wanted to not be a director, but then he did. He had, his own issues with what he wanted to do, right? Because, he didn't, I would say, confidence issues in a sense. But in the end, no matter how much help he had, these stories, including the OT, these stories were brilliant because of George. Everything you see in the OT and the PT is there because of George. He had help. He acknowledged the help. He even had script writers to help him with the PT. He had help, in any which way. He even asked for advice. He was not a prideful person, really. He was very humble. He was very, very humble. So let's go on. As a brilliant job George Lucas might have done in A New Hope back in 1977, his direction of the prequels was considerably less impressive. Why do you think that? They are visually stunning for sure, but that's mainly thanks to the great special effects and production design that his company created. They did groundbreaking CGI crap for the film industry. The actual directing, though, throughout the 3 movies are generally pretty flat, especially in The Phantom Menace. How is it flat? Tell me how his directing is flat. In contrast with all 3 of this Disney trilogy, boasted terrific directing to match their sharp technical values with both JJ and Ryan. doing a smash job in the director's chair. Please provide evidence to why George's directing went flat. All three movies have beautiful visuals and sharp cinematography galore, but Last Jedi was perhaps we know what she likes, the standout. Thanks to Rian Johnson's effort, there was quite possibly the most visual stunning Star Wars movie ever made. Okay, so George said it was visually stunning too, but the story wasn't. There was nothing. So so basically she does not say why his directing is flat. She doesn't give any sound evidence to her opinion whatsoever, or to this statement whatsoever. And when someone can't do that, she's just basically sharing a flat opinion without substance, really. There is no factual evidence there is that we could rebuttal here. She just basically stated something without the facts, without any kind of evidence whatsoever. Just on the pretense of people hated the prequel trilogy when it first came out. All right. And let's see here. And then, of course, number 6, the humor is far better. Really. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let me get, you guys are just jumping in the chat here. All right. I try to click on it. There we go. Great directing. Sporces in space. All right. So let's see here. Get out of that so that I got the little warning again about internet. So sorry if I'm freezing or what have you. Let's see here. What do you have to say? I hear you talking. I don't hear you. I see you. Oh, gee, this is clearly just Disney propaganda. That's why I'm doing this, because people will take this as evidence to use as proof that George sucked. And we're noticing that when new projects come out, they tear down George, which in reality, because everything's based upon his lore, right? They should be praising him. They should be giving praise to that and saying this was inspired by, and then also say, these, and just talk about why, instead of saying, oh, everything was a lot better than what was done before, kind of deal. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. All right. Take a breath here, Laura. Neither of the later Star Wars trilogies recaptured the frequent laughs throughout the original trilogy, but the sequel definitely came a lot closer. What? They put flat, stupid your mama jokes in there. That is way more cringy than Jar Jar getting his tongue stuck in the electric current of the pod racer. The comedy throughout the sequel trilogy is a little hit and miss, mainly because it was sometimes deployed too frequently and thus depleted the tension in the movies. That's why it's bad. It depleted the tension in the movies. Whereas Jar Jar, I don't think it did. I really don't think it did. But at least some of it landed. You mean landed like a piece of shit that Jar Jar stepped on? There are actually some hilarious moments in the sequels, especially in The Force Awakens. In contrast, the prequels often took themselves far too seriously. I wonder why they took themselves seriously. Do you guys know why? That the prequels was a bit more serious in some cases? Because we had Palpatine stepping up as a dictator, then taking control as an emperor, seducing Anakin Skywalker, and using the Trade Federation, using both sides of the war, manipulating both sides of the war. So that's why, even though it's like quote unquote kids show, are supposed to be geared towards kids, like teens or what have you, it had political intrigue. But it still didn't miss on its times of laughter. Yeah, Jar Jar did turn some people off, and I could see that. But it didn't take you out of the scene. Like you have the Disney trilogy where, you know, Poe does the your mama call joke, and it takes you out of the scene for what's going on during that time because they're going into battle and stuff. And again, they could have done that a lot better. They could have done a lot of things better. And of course, any movie can do something better. All movies are going to be critiqued in some way, shape, or form. In contrast, the prequels often took the, okay, I already read that. Of course, Jar Jar Binks is what everyone still remembers. And yes, the character is every bit as awful as you recall. I didn't really think he was awful. I think that he could have miled down on some of his quirkiness, but then we find out why he is the way he is, why he was basically exiled from his people and what have you. And then later on, he basically had character growth, a character arc where he started taming down a little bit and becoming responsible and learning to be a leader, if you want to go into that. But the overwhelming majority of the comedy in the prequels is similarly ineffective. You'll get a few unintentional laughs here and there, and that's about it. So what do you guys think about that one? There wasn't a whole lot of humor in the prequels. I mean, there was occasions where you had like a little smirk here and there and stuff like that. But it wasn't supposed to be that way. I myself wasn't really turned off with Jar Jar. I knew the points that was supposed to be made, but I knew people who don't care for him that much or said he could have been done better. So there you go. And number five. I feel like I skipped one. I don't know why. Let's see. Number 5, the action in the sequels is great. The acting in the sequels is great. The acting in the prequels is ghastly. And so they have to use his expression because after he was pissed with the emotion and stuff from what happened to his mom, they're saying that this was cringy. His emotions was cringy. How he responds, how he feels guilty from being a Jedi and creating such actions. What? Okay, so by this image, I'm dissecting this right here. Easily, the single greatest strength of the Disney trilogy is the uniformly fantastic acting all the way through. They fly now. May I say more? They fly now. And that is something even the many who dislike the trilogy will probably feel too. Do you guys, those who don't like the Disney or the sequel trilogy, do you feel that way? That the acting was fantastic? And at least you agree to that? Let me know in the comments. I just want to weigh this out a bit here. Because, you know, Robin is doing a lot of assumptions here. She's going off her own take. Obviously, we already know that she doesn't care for the prequels. That was really stated when she was like, are you joking with us? With people really praising the prequel trilogy now. I've always praised it from the start. And I've also talked about some things I didn't agree with, and that's including the OT. That's including the EU. I'm not indifferent. I'm not biased, basically, when it comes to George's era. I do talk about stuff that didn't make sense. I do talk about stuff that could have been better, as well as stuff that I thought that was fantastic. So Adam Driver's, and I think too, honestly, like talking with people who like the Disney trilogy and just getting into their heads, like personally, like in real life, you know, Adam Driver was one of them that his character took a whole 180 turn in The Force Awakens. They could have done his character a whole lot better, and it was leading up to something good until he took off the mask. And I think that Adam Driver was really done wrong with his character as well. They just really butchered his character, and those people do agree with me. And I do have reasonable conversations with people who like the Disney trilogy. I do, and more power to them that they like it. All right, franchise's best. So Adam Driver's masterful franchise's best turn was the standout, but nearly every actor, both new and returning, did an excellent job. Hell, even actors who were ultimately wasted, such as Benicio del Toro and Lupita Nyong'o, did fine work. And I don't know if I said that right, so let's see here. But as for the prequels, Again, case in point. Okay, fine. The acting in the prequels wasn't all bad. See, again, case in point. Need I say more? Ian McDermott's was completely brilliant as Palpatine. Yeah, in the prequels. I would not say in the Disney trilogy. I don't think he was very well in that. Just like I said, I don't think that John Williams' score wasn't as great as it has been before. There are some that I thought was pretty cool, pretty good, but I think that his best was done prior to Disney. Let me see here. Ewan McGregor was a wonderful Obi-Wan, and Christopher Lee was a badass Sith Lord. Frank Oz and Anthony Daniels slid back into their original trilogy roles nicely. Pernilla August is solid as Anakin's mother, and well, that's it. So with Ewan, if you go and read up on his interviews about him, or if you go watch the making of, for the prequel trilogies and how Ewan talks about really get inside Obi-Wan, and so how Sir Alec Guinness, really portrayed Anakin, or not Anakin, I'm sorry, Obi-Wan. He really did his study, his research. And as for Hayden, this is the first time we get to see Anakin Skywalker, right? And he did what he needed to do for Anakin Skywalker, just like George wanted him to do. So when you have Ewan, who did his studies and really got behind the personality of Obi-Wan, and kudos for him. I think he didn't do such a successful job later with the new series that came out. Christopher Lee got a character that basically I wouldn't say he's used to play. I'd say he's used to playing baddies, dark guys and stuff like that. So he fit that really well. That was a good pairing for Dooku. Frank Oz and Anthony Daniels, of course, they got to play. So they already knew what they'd come up against. They already knew the personalities of their characters, which is amazing. It's always good when they come back and they can re-submerge themselves back into the characters, right? And then we don't get much of her with Anakin's mom, Shmi, but she basically did a good job too for what George said. So now we're going to go to here. Of course, right here, Hayden Christian is risible. Liam Neeson sleepwalks. Natalie Portman gives a career worst turn. The various vocals performed as the racist aliens. Oh, she's not going there. Oh my God. She is going down that thing of like, we just recently seen that maybe not even half a year ago about people saying, oh, like Watto, he's just a racist variation of Jews. So I hope she's not saying that. I hope she's saying that they're racist. The aliens are racist towards the characters inside the show, which really didn't come out that way. Then Samuel L. Jackson is a total bore. Oh my God. Really? Both the child actors who played young Anakin and young Boba, respectively, were very weak, and Ahmad Best he was playing Jar Jar Binks. Oh, no, she did not go there. She's rehashing all these like racist lines that like you would see that people would write about and we talk about on Twitter. Like George is racist for, making aliens like Asians and like stereotypical Asians and Jews and stuff like that. And then she's the one that basically is tearing down Ahmad Best. Yeah, he said it was the media. But now look at her as a quote unquote fan. She is tearing him down. Not even Daniel Day-Lewis could have escaped from that disaster. In general, several other smaller roles were temporarily played. The youngling in Revenge of the Sith, anyone? He said a line. He was scared. That was not bad acting. Many great actors were completely wasted, and a few actors had much presence on screen. The prequels might generally be one of the worst acted trilogies ever put to film. She really went down. She really, really, really went down that path with that. And I disagree with her in a lot of ways. Ahmad Best did not have any bad acting whatsoever. She's just comparing him to how George wanted Jar Jar to be this full exiled because of his misfortunes turned into leadership, role. And then, Anakin, like we already seen her misunderstand why Anakin Skywalker had to be prideful, angsty, quote unquote, whiny, what have you, because his character had conflicts. So you're seeing conflicted attitude there. And Hayden did it spectacularly. Liam, he did what he needed to do. I really admired him acting out as a Jedi. I didn't think it was awful either. I think he did the job. Natalie, I can understand people who did not like her acting in Revenge of the Sith, but as a woman who had kids and going through pregnancy and stuff like that, I think she did particularly well with her emotions being conflicted with pregnancy, because hormones get your mind in some crazy shit. I'm not kidding you. So those, so you can have worry, doubts, what have you. Okay, let's go on. For the sequels are the sequels are shorter on cringy moments. Okay, here we go. So we're getting down to the last ones here. There are many brilliant moments in the prequels. Most of the action sequences are insane. The lightsaber duels are mostly phenomenal, and some of the dramatic moments, such as Shmi Skywalker's death, the opera scene, and Order 66, and the poignant closing scene of Revenge of the Sith. Didn't she just say all of this didn't matter just a few of them ago? Like a lot of these points she made here, she said that they were awful in one shape, way, or form. Okay, so let's go. Unfortunately, the trilogy does not have a number of particularly cringy, or does have a number of particularly cringy moments too. Things like distracting ragdoll Sykes, the racist aliens, and she goes here again. The clunky political scenes, various ill-judged comedy moments, and well, pretty much any and every scene involving Anakin and Padme do mean that there are certain scenes in the trilogy you'll definitely want to skip. Okay. So what is this particularly with the racist aliens and the clunky political scenes? Okay, let's go on. The sequels have some terrible scenes too. Luke drinking that strange milk, Leia Poppins, the Bantha chase. Somehow Palpatine returned. And did you notice that she didn't use this as cringy dialogue or anything either? The terrible C-3PO memory loss subplot, Rise of Skywalker, but nowhere near as many, and certainly nothing that matches the cringe factor of the worst prequel moments. As such, this is yet another way in which the argument that the prequels are better than the sequels falls flat. Yes, the sequels aren't as meme worthy, but they're a lot easier to watch with a straight face. I don't know. I've seen a lot more memes on the sequels and the prequels. Like everything I see of the prequels is from the past, like that. And memeable doesn't mean that the movie's cringy either. I'll give you that. But you can certainly use any scene that's frozen, just like she used Anakin's face earlier after he was confessing that he slaughtered the Tuscans and he felt guilty and all that other stuff and all those emotions coming out from that. Yeah, you can use that as a meme without the context, right? And that's the thing here. So let's see here. So basically, I like the Attack of the Clones, even with them going off together, because Anakin does not understand, like I said, courtship and not seducing, but like emotions towards love, relationships of love, falling in love. That's something that the Jedi didn't focus on. Now, with the new stuff coming out and that novel Padawan, specifically about Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's like around 15 during that time. And now the Jedi, like the Padawans and stuff are like that, are exploring relationships and having sex with each other and kissing each other and stuff, which contradicts this right here about Anakin being awkward and these little scenes here that probably should have happened what a normal person would have if they had a normal life, and that would have been happened a lot younger than their ages here, and stuff like that. And so there you go. But George also's perspective on courtship, love, all of that is very, very old school too as well. So I'd say this lady should do her research on that. If she doesn't like it, that's fine. I mean, everybody has their own thing. Some people don't care for this scene right here, and stuff like that. And I've heard people say it slows it down, but I'm going to go there. So what about Rey and Kylo touching each other's hands like that? As what people say is a sex scene or what have you. So I don't know. Let's go on. Let's see here. I see this. Let me see if it's going to click. Come on, work with me. It's just not working for me today. My computer's like, you're having a live stream, and not today. You don't have that shit today. It's a Monday. All right. So Soul Assassin says, OG's right. Women complicate everything, and you guys love us for it. All right. Number 3. The sequels plot holes still aren't as bad as those in the prequel trilogy. Okay. So, ladies and gents, what are the plot holes in the prequels? What exactly are the plot holes in the prequels? Let's see here. And then What Culture is a British media company, which also means that the men who write for them are basically very effeminate men. I wouldn't know the culture over there for them. Let's see here. And sorry to my English brothers, but it's true for the What Culture's website. Okay. So what do you guys think? Can you guys name some plot holes for the prequels versus the sequels? So let's go take a look into this right here. So of course, one of my favorite scenes is my second favorite duel between them. Again, like I said, Return of the Jedi, Luke against his father, basically, and the redemption that leads up to the redemption. And then this right here is my second, almost neck to neck with the first one I mentioned. So there you go. Look, no one can deny that the Disney trilogy have plenty of issues with logic. Are you? Oh, there you go. There are numerous how did they survive that moments. The Millennium Falcon was conveniently flying fueled on Jakku, and many things just aren't explained. Palpatine's return, most notably. You got that right. That Palpatine, like without reading the novels and stuff like that, that's a huge plot hole. Like when you have a significant event happen like that, that needs to be explained in the movie, not in their EU. You need to have an explanation what had happened and why. And then you take the EU and you expand around it, like show to us what events led to that. That's how you're supposed to do that. That's how original EU does it. All right. And still, the illogical moments of the Disney trilogy are nothing compared to the film-breaking stupidity of the prequels. Okay, so again, this is how she feels. Seriously, where to even begin? Okay, so let's do this. Palpatine's plan in The Phantom Menace made no sense. This is where it proves that she didn't understand what she watched. When this came out, I was a young adult. I'm not going to say my exact age. Some of you guys might know, but my birthday's coming up on August 12th, but I'm not giving you the year. All right, so why didn't Qui-Gon just steal the hyperdrive from Watto and pay him back later instead of using a complicated bet involving a random kid to leave Tatooine? Well, my darling dear, first of all, he's a Jedi. He probably wouldn't have stolen, although they do take things when necessary. So I understand that because we see that later on in Attack of the Clones. However, if he stole the hyperdrive from Watto, then we wouldn't have a story. Because how in the hell would Anakin come into play as the chosen one and get trained? All right, so let's go on. So that's right there. And then why did Padme go? Wait, no, did I skip one? Okay. Why did Padme go into hiding on her home planet? And why did the Jedi allow Anakin, who was clearly infatuated with her, to guard her? Okay, first of all, she went to seek refuge because she has better security there. No one would know where she would be at. Okay, so that's apparent. You always go, you can hide in plain sight. She's more protected there. Anakin went and I don't think she realizes that Palpatine is the one that manipulated this too. Again, she doesn't understand. I don't think she watched it, or she failed to understand what happened. GB Lukey or Luke. Let me see. Did I click on it? There we go. There we go. Hey, OG, I just saw your post, this article on Twitter, and I think I lost more brain cells than I like from it. I'm so sorry for the loss. And we're going through it right here. And you can go ahead and add your opinion, what have you. The reason why I'm doing this is because people take articles like this and use this as evidence to why George's stuff is worse than the Disney Star Wars now. And so here we go. And then, like I said, Palpatine orchestrated this. He's the one that orchestrated for Anakin to go. If you haven't been following along, Robin, who is the author of this article, then that's why you don't understand. That's why you're showing that you don't understand. That's why you think it doesn't make sense. That's why you have all these opinions, because you failed to understand. And then hardly anyone knew, it was a secret, that Anakin liked Padme. That's another thing. Didn't pay attention whatsoever. And as you know, as you go through that, like you read the Revenge of the Sith novel, it goes more into this. And Obi-Wan kind of he knew that Anakin had feelings for her in a sense, and he kind of kept that hidden as well. I don't know, it doesn't specifically state why, other than that it was his brother and blah, 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 blah. But, he probably thought it was going to pass, what have you. He just kind of just looked past it, I guess you could say. Still, things reach an intolerable level of stupidity in Revenge of the Sith. Oh boy, here we go. Which the Jedi fail to realize a Sith Lord is right under their noses. What? They know that the Sith Lord's there. They just don't know who it is. And they even discuss it. We need to find the Sith Lord. They thought it was Dooku at first. It was like he was the Sith Lord. They realized that there was a Sith when when Maul was killed, and they're like, there's always two, which goes into the rule of two. They didn't know it was Palpatine until Anakin discovered that, until Palpatine revealed himself. He unmasked himself to Anakin because that was part of the seduction of turning him to the dark side. So that too, and what are we on? Okay, plot holes. That's not a plot hole. So all these that they're saying is not a plot hole. This is all described in the movie. They didn't know Anakin was infatuated with Padme. Anakin was sent to go protect Padme, that was orchestrated by Palpatine. While Obi-Wan had his other mission, and he discovered something which basically was the clone army that was being built. That's none of this is a plot hole. These are just something that you just didn't understand, you didn't comprehend when you watched the movies. All right, so let's go ahead and go on this. So Mace Windu brings almost no backup when confronting said Sith Lord. And after just 2 conversations with Palpatine, Anakin goes from good man to a child murder. Oh, okay. All right. Let's address Mace first. Mace Windu brings almost no backup when confronting said Sith. You know why? Because the Jedi were spread out thin. They were spread out in the outer rims clean for war, basically for war. Again, it was orchestrated by Palpatine. And he knew exactly what he's doing. He was placing these chess pieces down to get the order, like a lot of the masters, out of the order and into action, so that once he drops the hammer, no one's there to protect the order, protect the temple. Yeah, so talk about, and that's not a plot hole either. That is alluded to in the context of the movie. They even discuss it, how they're spread thin. Now let's go ahead and address this one. And after just 2 conversations with Palpatine, Anakin goes from good man to a child murdering psychopath. And this goes on through the whole trilogy. We see Palpatine seducing Anakin. It's not a plot hole. We see it. He manipulates him. He plants these seeds of fear, distrust, and he feeds his pride. And he also then uses Padme. He uses his feelings against him. You know? He uses all of that to seduce him and turn him to the dark side. And in the end, when Anakin is conflicted, like he's at his most conflicting moment, and Palpatine says unlimited power, that goes back to what he had told Anakin about the Sith being stronger. That if you train under me, you will learn to save your wife and kid. Well, we know it's kids now, but they didn't know. Yep. And so from there, Anakin chose. And as he chose, he basically helped destroy Mace. And then he pledges himself as an apprentice, a Sith apprentice, to now who is Sidious. Well, he's always been, but you know what I mean. And then from there, to complete his transition, you know what I mean, to complete his, him going to the dark side, he then is tasked to destroy the temple. So he's already Sith. And she didn't understand that. She didn't understand the whole context of that fall, of why he went from, being conflicted still with a good kind heart. And, Obi-Wan telling his masters that, Anakin wears basically his heart on his sleeve. And that's in Revenge of the Sith novel. And I'm paraphrasing, but mind you. Yeah, transformation. Thanks you, Alex. And Yeah, and then how he would rush off to save others instead of, and stuff. And that's not necessarily a Jedi way, but basically, Anakin basically is the kind of person that is very mindful, that he loves his friends and stuff like that. And that was also another thing that kind of manipulated him to the dark side, that was used, against him towards Padme. And then it says that, and that's only scratching the bloody surface. Darlin, you just proved to us that these aren't plot holes. You just proved to us that you didn't understand what you're watching. There's also a ton of plot armor, contrivance, and as great as the action in the prequels generally is, there are plenty of distractingly silly moments. These aren't plot holes. Darling, you're writing about plot holes. These aren't plot holes. You can't even stick to your own topic, your own subject of the moment. Obi-Wan foolishly jumps into the middle of a massive droid army when confronting General Grievous, for example. That's not a plot hole either. He had a plan. He knew what he was doing. He knew that his forces, he knew Cody and them were going to come down and help him. He had the Force as well. And if the Revenge of the Sith novel shares this, and I wish that the movie could, there's so much I wish the movie could have shared, but the novel does tremendously add to the scenes. And basically it shares like how his lightsaber form, and the Mace Windu talks him up because he is a master in his form, that he's able to defeat, he should be able to defeat Grievous. And Obi-Wan is willing also to give his life for the cause, because that's how Jedi are. They're selfless. He's selfless. So that's not a plot hole either. That is not a plot hole whatsoever. And then so she continues to say, the point is, all these claims that the sequels are most illogical Star Wars films are beyond laughable. You didn't prove that with all of this here that this is illogical. If you watch the movie, you would be able to answer every single one of these points that you tried to make, saying that these are plot holes. All right, let's go to the next one. And here we go. The sequels are far better written. Wow, that's a lot to say when you have the creators and the president of Lucasfilm saying that they didn't have a plan whatsoever, and that what JJ had set up, Ryan didn't carry through, and he went in a completely different direction. And then from there, JJ got the helms back and completely undid what Ryan was doing, talking about being inconsistent to the story. Like the story, I can't even think now. In regards to writing, it would be fair to say that the prequels tell a more complex and interesting story than the sequels, and it'll be inarguable to say that the prequels feel more connected as a trilogy, but overall the sequels still come up on top. Okay, let's see what she has to further say. George Lucas is a man of many talents, but writing dialogue is not among them. And he's been endearingly honest about this over the years. Most of the dialogue in the prequel is simply terrible. He did have help with writing the dialogue he did have script writers. He didn't write the scripts all himself. He did have script writers. And you can look that up. You can watch the movies and, look on the credits as well. Now, like I said, there's some that could have been written better, but that's every movie has a moment where something could have been done better. And that's just a fact, right? So I'm not trying to dance around that fact. George Lucas is a man of many talents, but okay, I already read that. In stark contrast, the dialogue in the sequels is generally excellent. Oh yeah? Like Palpatine surviving? And they fly again? And in fact, that was arguably the best Star Wars trilogy in terms of dialogue. The original trilogy does have some clunky lines, let's face it. Okay. What do you guys think about that? Alex, I see that. Let me put that up there. Marsha wrote the scripts for the PT and you shouldn't criticize them. Marsha. Everything that's done in Lucasfilm pre-Disney is all Marsha's. She basically formed Lucasfilm. She was the boss behind there. I mean, even though she's not getting credit because of course George Lucas is making her invisible. Basically, that's the narrative of that show. That's the narrative of that show. I understood that there was problems going on like with the first movie and the funding, the time, weather and stuff. That's all in the making and the creation of the OT. And then also with the PT, there's some things that, they worked on that just filming in general and doing all that is difficult. And sometimes timelines are time frames don't match up like with when everything needs to be done accordingly because shit happens, that's like Star Wars is not the only film that has complications when they were filming and, and all of that. So you even look at films and read film history right now with some of the films coming out. There's all of that going on here today. There's even pushbacks of dates that are going on with some films that are coming out right now. So that's basically something that happens. That's just some of the missteps that happens with that. Let's see here. I wonder if these people would change their tune if they knew Carrie Fisher was script doctor on all three prequels. I know, right? I just, that's part of what I was reading about like 4 months ago, maybe, on how George basically got a hold of Carrie and she helped him out as well. Maybe because of woman, right? Maybe because the woman, because, women do everything better these days. That's the narrative lately. Like a lot of people like to push, and stuff. So furthermore, despite the widely documented changes in direction throughout the trilogy and the many plot holes, the sequels are far better written than they're given credit for. The emotional beats of the sequels really work for the most part. The characters feel like people instead of plot devices. Did you ever think like the OT big three were plot devices? Or the prequel trilogy 3 were plot devices? I never did. We know that Anakin had to lead up to becoming Vader. And if that's the kind of plot armor that she's trying to specifically, refer to, I wouldn't say it's a plot armor, maybe. I don't know. Because if you didn't take him in the direction he needed to go, you're breaking continuity. So that's basically taking in the film in the direction where it needs to go. Not plot armor. All right. Although the character arcs are often seem to change with each film, the characters generally developed well within each individual installment. Oh, she's talking about the sequel people. Yeah. Yeah. It's not well written if the characters' arcs often seem to change with each film. Yeah. Now, the change that you want to see with these characters is growth, right? You don't want to see a 180 or a 360 with a character where it doesn't make sense from movie to movie, but you want to see growth. So basically, she didn't refer the change as growth. She says the character seemed to change. So that's very telling right there. And that proves the point. And even the characters generally develop well within each individual installment. So this is proof here that there was no plan, that there was not like a direction of plan. Like, for example, George had a plan. He had a story outline or a story, story plan written out where he thought either it was going to take 2 or 3 trilogies to tell the story, end up just taking 2. And that's the huge difference. And he used various mythologies. He was inspired by events of his time to use as themes, allegories, and tropes and stuff. And many of you guys follow me on Twitter. That's been a discussion of late because of Andor, but we're not going to talk about Andor right now. And all of that. So let's go on. In contrast, despite their fascinating story, the prequels are a bit too emotionally distant for their own good. How are they? Okay, so this goes back to that one point that was said earlier about it not being as not being too emotional or whatever. I forgot exactly what she said, but that's because of there's politics too, but there was still emotion, like how Anakin responds to what's going on around him, and how Padme responds, like at the end of Revenge of the Sith and stuff, and they're you know, they're back and forths and Anakin turning and all that. But it's not supposed to be a full-on emotional type movie. Yeah, that you're supposed to get emotion from what's going on with the characters as well. And we're supposed to see Anakin in emotional turmoil between what's going on with him, with the seduction from Palpatine, and his emotions towards the Jedi Order because of that seduction that's going on, and because of his pride, because of fear of losing his wife and future children, and him losing his mother and his dreams and stuff. There's still a lot of emotional depth going on in there, considering it's a political intrigue type movie as well. So let's go ahead and move on. And here's the number one. The three sequels, you mean the three movies, because there's no three sequels, are far better individual films. So let's go ahead and take a gander at that, and then we'll start closing down or shutting down or wrapping up, whatever you want to call it. And finally, yes, the prequels are superior to the sequels in a few areas. They've got stronger lightsaber duels. You just said they didn't. World building, music, and more interesting stories, and they feel more connected as a trilogy. You just got done saying they didn't feel connected. But looking in the trilogy on a film by film basis, it's clear which ones come out on top. Flaws and all, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are pretty bloody great as sci-fi blockbusters go. They've got stunning visuals, fantastic action, mostly strong writing, and a ton of heart and irresistible spirits. Meanwhile, Rise of Skywalker is a lot weaker, but thanks to largely the strength of its acting and technical values, it's still a little better than the prequels. The sequels are not perfect by any means, and just like the prequels, they made plenty of mistakes, but you sure really didn't share that they made mistakes. You sure did not. But their lowest points certainly don't match the terrible politics in The Phantom Menace. The terrible politics? You didn't even understand the politics. You didn't even understand what was going on with Palpatine manipulating both sides of the war. And in doing that, seducing Anakin and creating conflict within the Jedi Order regarding Anakin. The Phantom Menace, and Anakin and Padme ghastly love story in Attack of the Clones, and the badly executed tragedy of the ludicrous, overpraised Revenge of... we'll check this out. The badly executed tragedy of the ludicrously overpraised Revenge of the Sith. I think the movie that is the strongest out of the prequel trilogy is Revenge of the Sith, even though I flip-flop between what I like better between The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I like Revenge of the Sith the best out of. It's funny that I like both the ending last movies of the sagas between the OT and the PT. It's crazy. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So as well as the underwhelming dialogue and acting throughout the earlier trilogy. So is she saying earlier trilogy from Revenge of the Sith, basically PT? So is she referring to the OT, or is she referring to the prequel trilogy? Anyways, the sequels have better acting, better directing, better writing, fewer plot holes. You didn't even prove any plot holes in that when you were talking about plot holes. You just shared that you were not understanding the story. And the writing is really good in the PT, and they do have their moments. The directing is well done. There's no conflict in the directing whatsoever. There's no choppy moments. In fact, you didn't even share evidence that the directing in the PT was bad. You just stated it was. You didn't provide evidence whatsoever. So I can't take you serious on this here. And the characters actually have some personality. I think that, and I feel bad for her. I think Daisy really could have done a lot better with emotions. I don't think that they understood emotional context when you're working as becoming a Jedi or working on the light side of the Force. She did not clearly show that she was working with the light side of the Force, if you want to go ahead and put it in those layman terms when it comes to the lore. She was always conflicted. She was very aggressive. She was very angry in some of the scenes there. All of that. Like, she could have turned dark. She should have turned dark. Yet, because of Mary Sue, and I can talk about this all the time. You guys already know how I feel about Rey. She's a Mary Sue. She was able to beat Kylo on their first duel without any training, and he had training both sides of the Force. He had better control of the dark side. And even usually when someone from the dark, like a Sith or what have you, are injured, that can be used as power. That anger from the hurt can be used as power to drive you. And that's where the directors, that's where the Disney company failed to understand. That's where JJ failed to understand. That's where RJ failed to understand. And so I wouldn't even say it's better writing, because they fail to fundamentally understand the lore in that. And then they fail to understand the lore when it came to dynamics such as hyperspace. That's one of the main things that you can compare to the movies. Take the EU out of it. That's one of the main things that you can compare to the movies. Is also like how you maneuver in hyperspace. And it was believable in the OT. If you coordinate yourself wrong, or you leave a certain time with an atmosphere and all of that, you can die from it. That's called world building. That's called great writing. And that was even in the PT. That's why they couldn't get into our Naboo, because of the blockade. They were blocking hyperspace routes. So they couldn't get there the way they needed to. So there you go, you guys. There you go. So I don't think she understood the prequels very much to do a proper assessment. Obviously, she shares that she doesn't really care for it by how she is snarky in here and condescending towards the show and towards George Lucas in a sense. And then she goes on to say, okay. And fewer, stronger emotional core, such even for fans as obnoxious and idiotic as the Star Wars, arguing that the prequels are better than the sequels is a dumb film argument if there ever was one. Okay, get that, you guys? You guys are dumb, or you guys are obnoxious and idiotic. because you compared them to the sequel trilogy and you thought they were a lot better between the two. Even though maybe when you first seen them, maybe you thought they were a little worse or not as up to par as the OT, or maybe there were scenes in there that you didn't agree with. So then you should still stay mad and say that they're not as great as the sequels. But when you get something as the sequels coming out that breaks a lot of the continuity, and you know the continuity, you're gonna look at the PT and be thankful that even though there's stuff you don't like in it, that they're better or that they're good for you. But to have someone come in here and write this article and gaslight and all of that to make their points based and then prove that they didn't watch or understand the prequel trilogy to make a proximate assessment and don't even understand what plot holes are because she didn't even share what plot holes are to make her point. This is stupid. I swear to God. So like I said, I wanted to come on here, compare and contrast, debunk this right here, because there's a lot of people will use articles like this to tear down the prequels particularly, but there are some people that will go into the OT too. And George Lucas himself, and with like the advice coming out with Marcia, basically behind the creation of everything in Star Wars during her time, not George. Basically, that's what that article or that show seems like it's doing. You're going to have people come in here and this is basically a part of erasing George's legacy. Like it was bad, and they'll go back, and if they do Icons Unleashed does a Marcia one again for the prequel trilogy, they'll just say that because she wasn't involved, that's why it was bad. Just wait and see. Just wait and see here, you guys. And so I thought I would do a compare and contrast. I didn't read past, like I just read few here. I didn't read all the way down here. But basically, fan base as obnoxious and idiotic as that of Star Wars. Just because you feel, you think, or you know in your heart that the prequels is better and you can prove those points. And she didn't prove much points in here. She went and pulled up some things that were used against fans and against George Lucas about creating racist characters, stereotypical characters. I wonder how much these companies, like What Culture, gets from Disney Lucasfilm for writing such hit pieces like this. I am very curious about that. Let me see here. OG, do a pro George show at some point, will you? Yeah, I will. I will eventually. In fact, I know I like in the past I did about lightsabers, and oh boy, we do have the love bots come in, and look at that. And so I did talk about like Nick working with him on the PT and stuff like that, and how George, was a mastermind in there. I do want to talk about his creation of ILM and all the contributors to that. Like after watching Vice, if anybody can get these bots, please do. Oof, I knocked my mic over. I need to really put it on a thing there. I really want to, after watching Vice's piece on George, basically Marcia, I want to go over and do a few George Lucas, like create like what George Lucas did, how he motivated people. I mean, I've been reading through some of my insiders and other magazines I have, and like the anniversaries of Empire Strikes Back and all of that, and there's a lot of positivity in those articles versus what we've seen on Vice. And so eventually I will, and that's what Holocron Journal is about too, is about reporting events that happened in the past when George Lucas was the owner of Lucasfilm. This last one was mostly about EU, content. This one coming up, I want to get back into the movies, and so we'll discuss that as well. My channel's particularly mainly about George Lucas era of Star Wars, and so even if I talk EU, it's still sharing and showing the good in George, because he did even help give his advice, said yay or nay. Anything that was published in the EU was there because George wanted it, just like anything that was in the movies that we watch today is because George wanted it. And that's the thing here. And so there you go. So basically this turned into a big gaslight article here, insulting article. So I don't know if she's on Twitter or not. I may be addressing her on this part here. Now, if you do address her, you guys, please stay civil. Don't look like what people try to accuse, people like us about. Be civil about it, like question, but don't be rude. I'm not trying to sit out a hit piece other than she did right here. I mean, you guys have a right to be pissed off after this last little sentence here, but please don't subject yourself to people coming in and saying, oh, yep, they are racist or they are sexist. Robin is a man. Okay, well, Robin could be a man or a woman. All right, then he. See, I assumed his gender. Anyways, so he. I'm saying a she, he. Okay. But anyways, she man. Yeah, so Robin is one of those names that you can use from man or woman. So there you go. I honestly resorted to the female part of the use of that name. My bad. But still, don't go over there and really, make yourself a subject of see, I told you there is some phobes kind of deal. So yeah. So thank you guys so much. Let me know what you guys think. I know you guys were talking like crazy in here. I didn't get to really get into the conversation with you guys because I was reading the article and pointing out some stuff and laughing at some of the stuff here. Let me go ahead and remove this article. And so we have Anakin Skywalker here. How are you doing? Guys, I don't know what you think, but if every time that we see Revenge of the Sith, we always hope that Anakin doesn't fall, that means the movie is good, period. Yeah, it's like, why are you doing that? I remember when I first watched it, and then I came home and stuff, and I was thinking and thinking and thinking. I'm like, Anakin, why did you go that path? Do you know you were compromised? I mean, there was so much emotions. I got so involved with that. It was crazy. I was like, why did you do that? You didn't save her. In fact, you compromised everything in your life, and I was just going on and on. I know that he had to turn because of the OT and stuff, but still, I really, really got into that and really felt felt the emotions from that. Let me see here. Let's see here. OG Star Wars. I fully regret we had to go through that, but all these gremlins need to be checked by us. These transgressions cannot be allowed to stand. And that's the thing here. This article really doesn't need any praise or any attention. However, this article also stirs up the pot for anti-George or anti-prequel talk to make the Disney trilogy look better. And that's not a good way to go. Go ahead and criticize, right? But don't go and tear down something to make something look good. That's not the way to go. Now think, how many clicks did Robin get from you? Outrage, clickbaiting. It was more of a compare and contrast. Now, did I get upset with some of the points? Yes, I did. And that's okay. You can get upset with that. I did this to compare and contrast. Let's see here. Allura, Robin is a man. Yes. Let's see here. It's ma'am. Yes, it's ma'am. It does sound like it's written by a scorned Disney-loving female, but all the same call out their claims. That's what I thought it was. I seriously did. I couldn't believe it. He blows. Let's see here. Always use he if you don't know. It's proper English. Well, are you mansplaining to me how to use proper English? I'm just playing. I don't care. Thank you for the impromptu show, OG. Off to sleep now. Ciao. Y'all have a great day. You too, Alex. Have a great night. Sleep well. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And let's see here. The sequels are far more hated than the prequels. That's the truth there. Like I said, like even though I wasn't really going to get into Disney Star Wars and stuff like that, you know, there was potential with the Force Awakens. However, I didn't care for it still. I didn't, but I knew there was potential. There's a good way they could have gone. They could have gone a certain way, and it just fell to pieces. To me, it fell to pieces. This article was full of beans. Yeah, it was. We can call them out in a respectful manner. Yes, exactly. And, you know, if you're not familiar with my channel, I do like to compare and contrast. I do like to go over articles called Cringe Factor here and address some stuff. And I'm not the clickbaity kind of like rage bait type channels. If that I think that's a stereotype or whatever. Most of the time, my content is just about lore, nerding out, discussing Star Wars in general, and so on. And like I said, I do have conversations with those that I know that like Disney Star Wars, and we do talk about what could have been good, the potential that they could have had for the new fans that they're trying to cater to, and all of that. I should get the prequel soundtrack. Yeah, you should. You should. So you guys, I'm going to go ahead and now call it. So thank you guys for coming in and going through this cringe factor with me, debunking and discussing and realizing that this person really didn't understand what he was talking about, especially when it came to plot holes and stuff, and understanding what Palpatine's purpose was in the prequel trilogy and what the politics behind that was. So you really don't, if you don't understand something, and you try to say it makes it awful because you don't understand it, even though it's clear to the audience, to the story, what's going on, then that's a you problem, not the production problem. Yeah, so let's see here what's going on here. Whoopsie, comments. Yeah, so go ahead, you guys. You could share the article or just leave it alone. If you don't want to contribute to the clicks on it, to the viewing of it, don't share the article, then it's totally up to you. So thank you guys again. Thursday will be coffee chat. We will have something new for the cringe factor part of that. And I am going to do now, because that's kind of a theme that I kind of skipped out on the last couple of shows, was talking about the next Force using society in the original lore. So I'm excited about that, to talk about that. I don't know which one I'm going to use, but I'll announce it on Twitter, on my YouTube community page on Twitter, so that you guys can prepare yourself to talk about it in the chat. You don't have to wait for me to present it to you. You can go ahead, if you don't know what they are, who they are, you can research it and prepare to have a proper conversation about that. And then you learn. And that's what that's about, is learning more about the lore, getting deep into lore, getting outside of Jedi versus Sith societies, Force societies, and you learning about what other Force societies were out there and how they viewed the Force and used the Force for themselves in their societies. And then any other topic I will announce as well. You guys will find out. So I'll catch you guys Thursday for coffee chat, 9 a.m. As far as I know, it's not going to be off hours. It's going to be the normal time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So thank you guys again for tuning in. And I'm so thankful that you guys joined me for this cringe article. You guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Another happy landing.